there, thanks for joining us for Newswest 9 at 6. I'm Alex Camerata. We're remembering a somber day for West Texas on the 3rd anniversary of the mobile mass shooting in Odessa. 7 people lost their lives on August 31st, 2019. On that day, many first responders and law enforcement stepped into action to handle the shooter and treat victims. Today, years later, our local law enforcement in Odessa is prepared for any events like the ones on that day. Christina Burgess is here. And how is our Odessa law enforcement prepared and ready 3 years later today?
Well, Alex, they have many things in place over at our Odessa law enforcement. For the Ector County Sheriff's Office and Odessa Police Department, they're prepared. They have prepared their officers at a moment's notice. They've taken a look at their policies, updated their equipment, excuse me, and even taken care of their officers' mental health when needed. 3 years after tragedy struck right here at their home, Odessa law enforcement leaders, Ector County Sheriff Mike Griffiths,
senseless, very senseless act.
And Odessa Police Chief Michael Gerke.
You always go back and look at what you're doing and making sure everything's okay.
Are still continuing to do everything years later to make sure their officers are ready to step into action.
At a moment's notice, we'll deploy if something were to happen like that again, and we have more resources as an agency to do so at this day and time.
I have the utmost confidence in every law enforcement agency in the Permian Basin that they will take the correct action. There's no waiting around. It's go and go to the threat and eliminate the threat.
As years have passed, OPD has even upgraded equipment.
We looked at our policies and our procedures, and we were satisfied with those, but we upgraded some breaching equipment and we bought more ballistic shields and things like that. So you're constantly looking at what you have and how you're able to respond.
But while they're taking care of the community, because of the August 31st shooting, Chief Gerke is making sure his officers are also taken care of.
As a department, with the response that we had and the number of officers involved, it's taken a toll on those officers too. So we have to be vigilant of their mental health and of making sure that they're okay. We monitor them, we keep an eye on them, and we offer all types of assistance. It took a toll on the department, but it took a much bigger toll on the community, and particularly those families that lost loved ones and had folks that were hurt and injured.
And both Chief Gerke and Sheriff Griffiths say their thoughts and prayers are with the families and the victims today.
Yeah, Christina, so here locally, that's what's happening. So how's that spilling over to a national level now? Well,
Alex, national and even state level, you can imagine several calls for change went out shortly right after all of this happened. Representative Brooks Landgraf filed a bill to create the Texas Active Shooter Alert System, known as the Layla Hernandez Act. It was named after 16-year-old Layla Hernandez, the youngest victim on August 31st. Now, this act would give you similar messages like Amber Alerts whenever there's an active shooting in the area. Landgraf hopes having this alert system in place will protect future Texans from mass violence.
The Layla Hernandez Act, in honor of the youngest victim killed on 8/31, passed unanimously through the legislature and was signed into law immediately by Governor Abbott. Now, that couldn't have happened without the support of West Texans, especially those like Layla's family, and especially her mother, Joanna Leyva, who provided powerful testimony in support of the bill at the Texas Capitol, where she was able to explain how an active shooter alert system could have saved Layla's life and can save countless lives in the future.
Now, the Layla Hernandez Act went into effect on September 1st, 2021. Alex.
Christina, thank you. The memorial to remember the victims of that day is officially finished, but they have decided to move the location a little bit. Rachel Robin is there and has exactly more of will it be and when we can see it. So, Rachel, what's going on there?
Yeah, Alex, that's exactly right. They kind of wanted to move the memorial so that people could come visit it and it could be quiet. Here are a look at the updated renderings. Not only does the memorial have the names of the victims, the survivors, and the first responders, but it will also have some quotes from the families of the victims. And those will be etched onto the sculpture. It's essentially what the victims think, say, and feel. Odessa Arts hope to bring comfort to the community.
And so we needed a focus point where people could go and grieve, somewhere they could heal, somewhere that they could remember. So you really get a sense of what happened on that day And so we'll never forget. Even if we continue to heal, we're not going to forget the names. We're not going to forget how it felt on that day. And we just need to be able to compartmentalize that and deal with it and move on with our lives.
The new location is on Loop through 338 entrance. They hope the memorial will be complete by next August. At UTBB, I'm Rachel Robinson. Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Rachel. As we talk about healing and moving forward, one of the nonprofits that helps the community with that is the Family Resiliency Center. The center was created shortly after the mass shooting to give free long-term resources for the community. We know that anniversaries can bring back tough memories. Newswest 9's Jolena Okazaki tells you how you can cope through the grieving process.
If you were to ask, what's changed since August 31st, 2019? You'd get a couple answers. 3 years later, the Family Resiliency Center's program director, Chandra, can tell you exactly what has changed through her eyes.
Our client base has grown. We are more connected to this community than we were previously. I have a brand new staff, and we are pushing forward to bigger and better things. We continue to remain here to help people remember that hope and healing are possible, and that's really our focus.
A focus for more help, for the ones who need it, where someone will listen.
We work with people who have experienced trauma to help them find healing. There is no such thing as normal anymore, right? We have a new normal every day that we wake up because of what experiences happen. And so we just walk alongside people and we really try to do life with them, help them learn coping skills, and get connected to, professional services when they need them.
Facing trauma and grief. But the question, whether grief ever goes away, here, you'd have to see how many people walk through these doors to know why sometimes it doesn't.
Grief is individual. The way that I grieve, the way that you grieve, the way that anybody grieves is between them and their grief. Grief doesn't go away. It can lessen and you can learn coping skills. The most important message is give yourself permission to feel what you need to feel and be gracious enough to allow other people to grieve in their own way.
Small reminders of what happened. It's not always the easiest thing to see, but for some, it can help.
Some people need to be connected to the memories. So for some people, media coverage can be cathartic. For others, it is devastating.
This is a home for grief and learning how to process those feelings.
We are hosting a free mental health first aid class, and we offer it at no cost as often as possible. One of the reasons that we're excited to offer that on the anniversary is because we want to, as much as possible, help our community move forward.
And although grief is one of the many steps to healing,
we want to celebrate the memory of those that we lost, but we also want to celebrate our ability to come together and move forward in healing and recovery.
But grief also opens the door to hope.
Now, if you missed out on the class today, they will be holding the Mental Health First End class every month. You can find out more updates by going to the Family Resiliency Center Facebook page. All right, Anthony, switching it over to weather. Yet another gray and gloomy day out here, which has shockingly become the norm. So how much longer is the rain sticking around?
Yeah, we got a few showers out there today, a few storms out there today, and then a good chance again tomorrow. But real quick, let's take a look at our rain totals from yesterday. Another nearly half-inch of rain fell at Midland International Airport, 0.47 inches yesterday. That brings our August total to over 4 inches, 4.05 inches, and our 2022 total for the whole year is just over 6 inches. So we've seen nearly 2/3 of that just in August alone, and we're about 3 inches below average for the year now. So that number is getting better too. But live radar picture, we're seeing some showers and storms, especially in the northern basin. Flash flood warnings from Lamesa to Gale, Dawson, and Borden counties right here, especially Highway 87 north of Lamesa. Travel not recommended at this time. And also seeing some storms pop up in Andrews County, near Andrews and moving off to the north and west, and also along Highway 115 northeast of Andrews. Could see some lightning with that activity. Middle and Odessa, haven't seen a whole lot. We saw a little shower there pop up and kind of dissipate in the last 10 minutes. There's a small chance of a few showers or storms over the course of the next few hours, but a better chance for your Thursday. One more good round of rain in the Permian Basin. Talking about that in just a bit. Alex.
Thanks, Anthony. News on the education front tonight. It was finally confirmed that Dr. Angelica Ramsey is indeed leaving MISD. The Fort Worth School District announced their decision at an open school board meeting last night. Though she isn't leaving the district immediately, that hasn't stopped the public from talking about the news and also expressing their opinions on the matter. But MISD Board President Brian Murray has noticed a trend regardless of which side the people are on.
A lot of what I've seen in the questions in the community, and I've had people reach out to me directly, but I've also seen a little bit of social media. People wanting in the next superintendent someone that's going to have West Texas, ties.
We'll consider West Texas ties when looking for a new superintendent, but at the end of the day, the most qualified candidate will be chosen. And since the announcement out of Fort Worth last night, responses to Dr. Angelica Ramsey leaving have been plentiful, some good and some, well, not so good. Tonight, one of Dr. Ramsey's Permian Basin education colleagues is sharing his well wishes. ECISD Superintendent Dr. Scott Murray says her work from MISD can't be understated.
She's been a great leader in our community, and I've appreciated being her colleague in the Permian Basin, and I wish her well and know that the community of Fort Worth will certainly, they have a great superintendent coming in, and she'll serve them very well. But certainly sad to see her go from our community. I know that is certainly a leadership loss that we'll experience.
Keep in mind, this isn't the end of the process for Fort Worth ISD. They have a mandatory 21-day waiting period before the hiring of Dr. Ramsey can be finalized, and we'll be sure to keep you updated as we learn more. Well, big news coming out of the state capitol tonight. Governor Abbott is hoping to bring big changes to Texas Road, and he's teaming up with TxDOT to put a big chunk of change down to do it. Together, they're announcing their 10-year construction plan. It's an $85 billion statewide project. Now, most of those funds will go to safety, maintenance, and reducing road congestion, but Abbott says he's also hoping the new project will connect more rural areas, all to bolster the state's infrastructure and booming economy. And experts say it is expected to rake in more than $15 billion worth of economic benefits and create more than 50,000 jobs. Governor Abbott says it represents a chance to represent all of Texas's diverse needs in a way the state hasn't seen yet. And that all sounds great, but I know what you're thinking. Where's that money coming from? Well, we took a dive into the 2023 Unified Transportation Program that these plans are based on, and we can break it down for you here. 32% will be coming from federal funding, and another 30% will come from what's called traditional state highway funds. That's money the state brings in from state fuel taxes, motor vehicle registration fees, and interest earned on dedicated deposits. Another 32% of funds will come from funds acquired through Propositions 7 and 1. Those were propositions approved in 2014 and 2015. Prop 1 takes money from oil and natural gas production, taxes, and Prop 7 takes money from automobile sales taxes and car rental taxes. And finally, another 6% comes from other state funds. Well, Anthony, I said it to you yesterday, and it bears repeating. Yeah. When in the world is the sun coming on back to brighten up our days?
We're actually seeing some peaks of sunshine actually right now, Alex. I'll show you the sky cam in just a second here, but more sun as we go towards Friday and Saturday. I'll talk about that after the break.